Hello, everyone, and welcome to the VFLW Game Changer Show. I'm your host, Scoops, the sole admin of Scoops. Well, it was a week off for VFLW footy, but the content for me never stops. And I can't wait for the VFLW footy to start again this Saturday onwards, because quite frankly, these buys were unnecessary. These weren't necessary at all. I don't like the buy rounds, and I'm going to be bringing them up again in Scoop Show's Bang, because there's one in the second last round before the end of the season. I'm going to preview the weekend's games. I'm going to give like a mid-season review for every club, where they are on the ladder, how I feel like they've gone, are they a bit vulnerable going into the back half of the season. And I'm going to mention some players in general. I'm going to highlight 4 individual players that I feel like who are currently playing VFLW that should have been drafted last year or the year prior, who are dominating this competition in their first or second years, respectively, and who should be on VFLW lists. Sorry, from VFLW lists to AFLW lists. So I'm going to go through some particular names for in particular very shortly. Now, I recently had on the coach of the VFLW Football Club. Well, great start for me. The Port Melbourne VFLW coach, Thomas Chittis. I had on the show that he's on the channel right now, so please go and check it out. If you haven't already, I would greatly appreciate it. And if there's any other coach you reckon I should have on from the VFLW competition, and you're a player watching and you want your coach on, send me a message. I've had Brett Gooley on from North Melbourne, now Thomas Chittis from Port Melbourne. Any other of the club's coaches, I'm happy to have on as well. And of course, you, the players who are watching this episode right now, or if anyone that knows players that plays in this VFLW competition that you would love to see on the channel either again or just on in general for the first time, please send me a message on Instagram, AFLW Live. We'll work out a Goal King challenge and or interview, and it'll be something I would love to get sorted. More people on the better. Enjoy having every single person I have on the channel, no matter who they are. I have them all in high regard. I appreciate every single one of them that's been on so far. Anyone coming on in the future. So I might as well continue with that. If you know any VFLW players or any AFLW players and you'd like to see them on the podcast in a Goal King challenge and or interview, please do send me a message and we'll try and get something sorted. Congratulations to Ali Verhus from the Swans AFLW Academy side. She's 19 right now. Didn't get drafted last year. Played in the state game last year for the Allies. And I thought she did really well. She was stiff not to be drafted. Well, she's now drafted just through a different avenue. And she's joined the Gold Coast AFLW side as an injury replacement player for Daisy Darcy. So well done to Ellie on that achievement. So congratulations to her. Now, let's now start off with the world famous segment, Scoops Goes Bang. Well. I bring it up again because we've just come out of a bye round. Now, this would have been the perfect opportunity to showcase VFLW footy this weekend. There wasn't many AFL games on throughout the day. A lot of the VFLW games are on in the day or early morning. It would have been a great time to showcase VFLW footy in Melbourne or in Geelong if there was a Geelong game, at good times, like 1 o'clock start, so respectable times. I don't like these early starts, and I've mentioned that in the past. There was less games on a Sunday afternoon in the AFL because of the Monday game, less night games as well. So, and there's obviously Thursday night games. So you had more time slots to fill this week, and you didn't capitalise on that, which is disappointing. But I'm going to continue to say it until it gets changed. 3 things. Fix the fixture, fix the time slots, fix the rule where the shot clock doesn't stop when it should stop when there's a goal and a stoppage, just like the AFL and AFLW have. There should be a rule where the clock stops. In fact, AFLW don't have it fully, but they should as well. It shouldn't be 20 minutes and that's it. It should be 20 plus time on and the clock stops no matter what when there's a stoppage and everything like that. A delay in an injury, for whatever reason. It's really frustrating. And the buys. We just had the bye after round 7, which is halfway through the competition. There's 14 home and away rounds. And after round 13, there is a bye going into the last round, which I don't like. Because for some teams that aren't going to make finals, do they really want to keep delaying it as well. Like, there shouldn't be 2 buys at all. There should be 0 buys. I've had the strong belief in any competition, AFLW, AFL, any other state league, there should be no buys. Now, I understand players say that they need a buy, need a rest. We'll have the week off individually. I don't like this buy round stuff. It really frustrates me, especially a competition buy. Like, how the AFL have it right now is 6 weeks of buys is ridiculous. Now, technically, state league buy, a whole competition buy is better than this individual stuff the AFL are doing, but there should be no buys at all. Look at the AFLW. They don't have any buys. So that's what should be the case here in all state league competitions, not just VFLW. But it's frustrating. And then you go into the home and away season finishing in round 14, but you have to wait a week longer for round 14. Some team seasons are well and truly over. In fact, there's about 3 or 4 teams season right now that's over. So why further delay it? And it would only work for individually for players that are coming back from injuries. I get that. But as a lover of the sport and football in general, waiting an extra week just doesn't sit right with me. I don't like it. To the competition, if you're watching this, please remove the bye rounds, especially 2. It's not necessary. I don't like it. Comment down below what you think about it, because I really don't like the bye rounds. Please get rid of it. Fix the shot clock and have time on and stoppages where the clock actually stops. And stop putting games so close together. Like, for example, this week, right? I'm going to go through the game shortly, but, you know, just to quickly look through it, like, there's 5 games on the Saturday from 11:05, or 4 of the 5 are from 11:05 and 11:35. So 4 games are going to clash. Like, that's just ridiculous. Then you got one at 2:45, so that will be on its own. Then there's one on Sunday on its own at 11:05. But for the majority, they clash. Get rid of this clash crap. I speak to a lot of players who are very frustrated with the fixtures, the time slots and everything like that, because they would love to go support their mates at other clubs. But they can't do that because they're playing at the same time, or the venue's too far away to get to in time. Like, you would eliminate all this if you play games from 11 to 4 o'clock. Icon Park, Whitten Oval can host night games. Do that. If there's no VFL there, do it. Capitalize on it. Make the games have their own time slots where you got all the eyes are on that one game or 2 games, not 5 at once. You're pushing people away from it. You want to get people to go and watch, and you make it very hard when the fixture is like this. The time slot's like this. It has got to be fixed now. Please fix it. Hope you guys and girls enjoyed that edition of the world famous segment, Scoops Goes Bang. All right. So no team of the week this week, obviously, because there was no games on the weekend, unfortunately, but team of the week will obviously be back next week. Now, my Scoops VFLW medal count will be revealed after the round 14 home and away round, before the week 1 of finals or thereabouts. I'll be, for the first time ever, be having my Scoops VFLW medal count night. And, that's going to be a great night. Hopefully we can have some players on and get their opinions on who might win the Scoops medal, the inaugural Scoops VFLW medal. It's a night not to miss. And I know a lot of players that will be tuning in for that and to see how many votes they poll, whether they win, whether their teammates win. They're going to have to wait and find out. Now, I want to go through my season reviews before I even preview the weekend's games coming up. So, individually, before I go through the teams, I want to talk about 4 individual players. Now, 3 of these players missed out on being drafted in the most recent draft, and one of these players missed out the previous year. First off, I want to talk about the one that missed out 2 drafts ago, and she's from Box Hill. She's a midfield. She's a star. It's Isla Baldwin. Turning 20 this year, I believe. A really, really good midfielder is Isla Baldwin. Just gets lots of tackles, a lot of clearances, has impact on the game, has a lot of games where she's getting over 20 disposals. I've seen one Box Hill game in person and watched some online. She's always in the game. She always makes an impact. How she wasn't drafted last year, I can't believe it. And this year at VFLW level, she's proving why she should be drafted. Isla Baldwin is a bona fide star of this competition already. So she should be drafted before this season's over if there's injury replacement spots available, because some clubs have list spots at the moment. So You never know. Isla could be one of those players and gets that spot and would absolutely deserve it. But, I just don't know how she hasn't got a spot yet. I've seen some other players get drafted that, have deserved it. But I feel like Isla is better than some of these players that are either in similar positions that haven't got picked up. I don't know why, but I'm sure over time she will be drafted at some point. To me, not just with Isla, but the next three players I'm going to mention, I don't think it's a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So Isla Baldwin from Box Hill, one who should be drafted, who's having a terrific season to start. The next name I'm going to mention is her teammate from Box Hill, Stacia Stevenson. Now, Stacia played at the Eastern Rangers last year, plays through the forward line and the midfield, kicks some goals, hits around 20 possessions a game this year in the VFLW competition. She's been terrific as well. Had that split of playing forward and midfield. At that game, I was at the Collingwood game. She started up forward. The ball wasn't really getting down there. And then once she was in the forward line, out of the forward line into the midfield, she made an impact. Had like 20 disposals that game, had like 10 tackles. So she was really impactful. And she's been good all season. She's potted for probably about 6 to 7 goals this year, averaging probably just under 20 disposals, but playing that split of forward mid, you're going to have averages like that. But when she has the ball, she does something with it. And that's a key difference that she separates from some other players and a lot of other players is like, it's not one of these players that just accumulates it and that's it. She does damage. Like that Collingwood game as a whole, I watched that game. I was there. She was one of their best players and she was very, very good and deserves to be drafted. I believe she's training on with another AFLW club, like probably half these players are as well. So if that's the case, hopefully she continues to go well and is drafted by any club heading into this AFLW season in August. If not this year, I'd be shocked if it's not next year. I'll be absolutely shocked. Well, all 4 players I'm about to mention for that matter. So Stacia Stevenson, another one who should be drafted going into this season, or at worst next season if there's no spots available. From the Pies, Talia Sanger, someone who missed out on her draft year last year. Just a really good midfielder. Bit of a different midfielder to Isla Baldwin. She's more of a running midfielder. She doesn't need to get 25 disposals, although she's done that a fair few times this season already. Just out of the Talent League program. So this is their first year also of AFLW, of VFLW, hopefully soon for her AFLW. Talia Sanger has been a great player for the Pies. There was a game I was at. I've been to a few Pies games, and there was one game where she had like 14 disposals. I won't say only, well, I say only, but she didn't need to have a lot because I thought she was one of the best players on the ground, and I didn't look at the stats during the game like I normally would. And I had a look, and I thought to myself, oh, yeah, she was one of the best. And I looked at the stats, I thought, oh, shit. She only had 14, got a goal, but she was really good. And that's a good thing because it just shows you don't need to have many disposals to have good impact on the game. Obviously, that's really important as well, but it just shows that she was really good. And then there was a game I was at where she had like 26 touches and a goal. So, and she was really impactful there as well. So I don't know how she's not an AFLW list at all. I am actually really surprised. And also with Stacia Stevenson as well, I've got to mention, I had her in my top 30 odd in my power rankings in heading into last year's AFLW draft. Isla Baldwin I rated very highly as well. Talia Sanger the same. And the next person I'm about to mention as well. So, again, like the other 2 Box Hill players in Stacia and Isla, I wouldn't be surprised if Talia Sanger's on a list at some AFLW club heading into this season or at worst the start of next season. And the final name I want to mention individually is Amy Trinidad from Carlton's VFLW side, was the captain of the Calder Cannons. I hope I got that right, but I know she was a captain of her Talent League club. So this is her first year in AFLW as well. An accumulator, a dominant force in the midfield, getting over 20 disposals every week, gets the tackles, gets the clearances like the other 3 have as well. Just a bona fide star as well. I will be absolutely shocked if she's not on a list at some point as well. She should be. She's a good player as well at Carlton. She impacts the game as well. Clearances, tackles, contested possessions, just like the other 3 as well. Amy Trinidad is another one to watch heading into any list vacancies, along with Stacia, Isla, Talia, and Amy. Absolutely all 4 of them in particular deserve a spot on an AFLW list right now. So hopefully they get their opportunities. They absolutely deserve it. And they've all 4 of them have had terrific seasons so far. All right, so now let's go give my mid-season review So I want to do my mid-season review. For each club. So how I'm going to do this, as I get that graphic up right now for everyone. So how I'm going to do this, obviously the ladder, I went through it last week. North Melbourne, Box Hill, Essendon, Williamstown, Port Melbourne and Sandy are in the top 6. Collingwood are just outside by 2 points, so a draw. Darebin the same. Western Bulldogs are 6 points out. And Carlton, Casey and Geelong, their season's already over. So we'll start off with the reigning premiers, North Melbourne. So North Melbourne, they've got Nike de Jock winning the Coleman medal race at the moment. She's on 15 goals, 1 ahead of second place and 5 ahead of third place. So Nike's having a terrific season for North Melbourne again, 15 goals already. And this is probably a scary thing for the rest of the competition. Nike's had a great year, but I feel like she could be even better, which is scary for opposition because, it's credit to her and the work she puts in. And I know that by seeing some North games as well. The X factor of this competition is Nike de Jock, and she does a really good job in the forward line. Obviously, every time you're going to key defender on her, they're having nightmares because she's a really good player, because she's just athletic. She can run all day, and there's not many key forwards in a lot of competitions, let alone this competition, that are very agile like she is. And that's a key trait she has that not many players can get. And she's very, very good. She's had a great year. Stella Reid's had a stellar year at North Melbourne, if you pardon the pun, because she's legitimately had a stellar year. Obviously, they had Tessa Boyd get drafted to North Melbourne, the AFLW side, but she was starting well. Caitlin Fletcher, who started well, who's now at the GWS's AFLW side, which is great for both the reward that they both deserve. I assume Nike and Stella are next off North Melbourne's list to get drafted, and should be. Kate Reynolds has been solid in the ruck for North Melbourne, the former Swan. Charlotte Ryan has been really good for their midfield as well. Alana Barber through their midfield coming across from Bulldogs has been very good. So she's been very influential as well. So, they're a great side, North Melbourne. And Brett's got a good list at North Melbourne, albeit they've been impacted by losing Caitlin and Tessa. And Jen Lawson-Tavern, who started well form blue, who's not playing for the rest of the year. So that's a massive loss, and they're still on top, which just shows how great they truly are. One player goes out and one player comes in, and they fill the role very well. And Renee Turney has been pretty good, the former Bomber for North as well. So the Roos have been pretty good. They're 5-2, and they head to the season. They're going to make finals. It's a matter of where they finish because it's so tight from first all the way to 8th, if I'm being honest. Maybe even 9th. So it's just the bottom 3 that are out, and that's Carlton, Casey, and Geelong. Their seasons are already over. The others are all still in contention, and all could easily fall out. If they lose a few in a row, they're out of the 8, some of these teams, or even 1 in a row. And percentage is vital, in particular, for everyone not named Port Melbourne and Sandy. But with the way the ladder is, Port and Sandy are equal at the moment. So if one falls to the last spot in the top 6 and the other's in 7th, well, then it will be important for both those sides. And Sandy's percentage is 39% behind Port Melbourne. So at the moment, so it's going to be an interesting one. Sandy's lost a few players to AFLW list as well, some injuries. So yeah. Actually, let's go talk about Sandy now, shall we? So Sandy are 4-2. With a draw against Port Melbourne. Ellery Morris unfortunately ruptured her Achilles at training about 3 games ago. So obviously she's out for the rest of the season, unfortunately. Erica Fowler's joined Geelong's AFLW side, so one on to Erica. Lauren Brazzali, who played like 1 game at the start of the year, the former Pie, is on Richmond's AFLW list, one under her. So they've been impacted. Sophie Locke missed about 4 games as well through injury. She's now back the last few weeks, which is great. And Sandy have been impacted through some players' unavailability. Some key position players, like last week, they had 3 rucks out. Ali Hines, Ariana Clark, who were both pinch hitted in the ruck when Erica Fowler was still on the list. And now Erica's obviously at Geelong AFLW, so she's not playing the VFLW anymore for Sandy. Ali Hines and Ariana Clark didn't play last week, or last game, sorry. So that impacted their ruck against Collingwood. So Yeah, they've had a lot of players go out throughout the year. Chloe Soltry's had to move into the back line after starring up forward early, who used to play in the back line before this year, but was really good up forward. And that's where I feel like she's played her best. In all those, she was good on the weekend against Collingwood. Probably one of the only good players for Sandy on the weekend against Collingwood, or the game prior, at least in the back line. But yeah, a good start, very good start. Probably got lucky against Carlton and Casey, winning by a few points. I was at the Carlton game, and boy, oh boy, yeah, lucky. You can say a giant escape there. Say for the Casey game, it was in Casey's forward line. That's when they had Megan Fitzsimon playing and Georgia Campbell and Georgia Gould playing. So they were doing really well then. But Casey's not a strong side at all. They haven't won a game, so Sandy got lucky there. So, I mean, the cracks have started to show a little bit. And then Collingwood in the most recent game, 53 points. That easily could have been 100 points, and I'm not exaggerating that. Collingwood were like 8 goals, 13, and missed some completely. And I'm sure Lockie, the coach at Sandy, is not happy with that performance against Collingwood, and they've had to think about that for 2 weeks and see how they go against Carlton this week. They play again before they've even played other sides. I don't know how that fixture even works like that. That's another thing for another day. But some positives. Imogen Evans has been terrific coming across from the Pies. Sophie Locke, in the few games she's played, has been solid as well. 3 on debut in round 1 before that injury to her ankle. There have been some players that have been really well. As I mentioned, Chloe Soltry as well. So there's some players that have been pretty well for Sandy. I feel like it's more an even contributors on the board. Like, there's no major standouts, but a lot of good performances. Ariana Clark's had her moments as well. Tasha Enwis still in the back line, coming across from Perth, from East Freo, who should have been drafted as well. I'm sure she will eventually as well. She's been pretty good in the back line. So, Sandy have been pretty solid. But the last few weeks have not been good at all, in particular that Collingwood game. But hopefully they'll bounce back, and I feel like they can. Box Hill, they've been terrific. They did get screwed against Collingwood, right in front of me, literally. The shot clock rule, 28 seconds was off the clock. That should have not been off. It should have stopped, but it didn't. So, and the ball was in there 50 when the siren went. When it also went out of bounds, when there was about 5 seconds to go. So you do 5 plus 25, that's 30 more seconds, about 40 metres out on the boundary in their forward line. They easily could have won. They lost by 2 points or 3 points. They had a great come from behind win against Port Melbourne off the top of my head. And then they had a bad loss though to North Melbourne. They beat Essendon. So they've had some good wins, but they've also had some disappointing games as well. They kind of brought Collingwood back into form, and now we're seeing how red hot they are. But Box Hill, Stacia Stevenson, Paige Price in the ruck has been terrific. Gabby Collingwood up forward been terrific. I can go through the whole list of Box Hill. Ali McClendon, who's their captain, who hurt her ankle recently. I don't know how long she's out for. Hopefully she's back soon. She's been terrific in the backline. Matilda Van Berkel in the backline has been awesome. Rosie Dillon's had some good games. Obviously Stacia Stevenson and Nyla Baldwin. Tess Cattle's been really good in the midfield for Box Hill and through other positions. Emma Stills had her moments as well. So all round, Box Hill have been really, really good. And I feel like they're probably the informed side right now. I know North are on top on percentage, but they've been a bit lucky a few times, North. And they had that loss to Collingwood, I must not forget, where they choked a 22-point lead, which I'm sure Brett was not happy with at all, the coach of the Roos. But yeah, Box Hill have been pretty good as well, albeit a few small losses that they wouldn't have been happy with, including that Collingwood controversial game. Essendon, the surprise packet of this year, 5-2, with a percentage of 134.9. This is not what I expected them. I thought they might hang out of the 8, or top 6, sorry, I keep saying top 8, outside the 6. But gee, they've been bloody impressive. They've had big wins over Geelong. They had some pretty good performances in general. Abby McDonald and Al Chaston have been 2 of their better players. Tia Davidge up forward had a game where she kicked 3. And she's been really good up forward. She's in the top 6 or so for the Coleman as well. She is, in fact, where is it? She is 5th, or equal 4th, technically, on 9 goals with Chloe Hunt from Collingwood, Caitlin O'Keefe from Port Melbourne on 10, Monique Di Matteo 14, and obviously Nike to Jock on 15. So Tia has had a great year for the Bombers, along with Abby McDonald, the former Cat, and Al Chaston as well. So, yeah, they've been really good, and they've had good performances from Layla Prince in the ruck for most part of the year. Gets a lot of disposals, so that's a key thing for a ruck, not just to get the hit outs, but actually gets disposals as well and do something with it, and she's done that. Yeah, they've been really consistent, the Bombers, and it's great to see Megan Misford started the season really well, then magically fell out of the side and was in a late change a few times. I feel like she should be in the side as well to complement their midfield and forward line better. But they're going well, but they should have her in the side as well. But all in all, 5-2 for the Bombers. They can't complain. A terrific season so far. Will it continue? We'll have to wait and see. I think they make the top 6, but maybe not top 4. But we'll see. Williamstown, 5-2 as well. They've had some close wins this year. They've had some games where they lost, where it wasn't amazing. They had that close loss to Sandy. Close win over Sandy at Trevor Barker. Neve Crowley, a great young player, key position player, who should be on an AFLW list as well. Emily Eves is probably a bit stiff not to be on an AFLW list as well. Gemma Wrigley, the former Southern Saints / Sandy player, is doing well for them in their side. Ash Thornycroft in the midfield tackling machine has been really good as well. Ruby Mahoney, former Bomber, former Swan District from the VFLW. She's played really well the last few weeks as Rubes for Williamstown through the midfield. After having a week off, it's come back and been good in back-to-back performances for Ruby Mahoney. But Williamstown, they're always a side that does really well. It's great to see them doing well, and they're currently 4th right now. Equal first on percentage, technically, because the top 4 are all on 20 points. And then Port Melbourne and Sandy are on 18 points in 5th and 6th. Collingwood in 7th on 16, along with Darebin in 8th on 16, and Western Bulldogs 9th on 12, and the rest are eliminated realistically and probably mathematically too, let's be real. But yeah, so that's them. Now, Port Melbourne, I obviously had the coach on, Thomas Cheetos, and we spoke about their season. He's been happy with some some games, and a bit disappointing in some. Had the draw against Sandy, but the resilience they have to come back from 13 points down to 3/4 time to tie that game. Georgia Bruce has had a good year. Ava Seaton, Eloise Ashley Cooper, Caitlin O'Keefe has kicked 10 goals, as I said, so she's doing really well in the goal kicking. Dropped off the last few weeks in terms of goals, but she's still been terrific nonetheless. I think they just had a lot of even contributors. Lauren Caruso, I did ask Thomas when she will be back. She will be back before the season's over, around the finals time. So she's a key part in their midfield, Lauren Caruso. They need her back with her leadership, but everyone steps up in that role, as Thomas mentioned in the most recent show, which is on the channel. So go and check it out if you haven't already. Port Melbourne have been pretty solid. 4 wins, 2 draws. 2 losses and 1 draw. They've been pretty reasonable. Now, for the sides just outside the 8, Collingwood, 4-3, outside of the 8 by 2 points. They lost their first 3, won their next 4, and they have been bloody scary. 4 in a row. They beat Darebin. They lost to Darebin, and after that, basically on the sign from Monique Di Matteo, and since then, they've gone bang, 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 bang. They obviously didn't like that Tom, their coach, obviously wouldn't have been happy with their first 3 games. Very mad, in fact, I'm sure, had to have been. They got slaughtered by the Bulldogs. They lost to Darebin after the siren, essentially, and then a loss to Essendon in round 1 or something. So their losses have been bad, but their wins, the come from behind win against North Melbourne, the slaughtering Sandy in the most recent game at Vic Park, which that ground, the standard of that ground is horrible, and a lot of players know that, and I'm sure the clubs themselves think the same. They need to fix that ground. It looks horrible for official games to play on. But players, Molly Eastman has been an absolute terrific find for the Pies, the former Tiger AFLW player who should be on an AFLW list again very shortly. Lily Rose Williamson, the former Bombers, had a key impact through their midfield. Talia Sanger, already mentioned earlier. Chloe Hunt up forward. Doesn't need a lot of disposals, but she pops up a few goals here and there. Talia Fallows the same. Their side is just really dangerous. Courtney Jones, the former Tiger, 3 goals and 16 disposals in one of the best individual games we were forward all year. Against Sandy, she was bloody terrific. Let's just say that game is really hard for votes. When you find out at the end of the year, you'll know what I mean. But yeah, they've had a lot of key contributors. Lauren Zagetti, the former Swan, who's done really well. Gemma Ramsdale in the backline's done her part. But yeah, overall, the Pies have been really good the last 4 games in a row. Not just because they won, how they've won. They come from behind winning against the reigning premiers in North, slaughtering Sandy, who haven't been beaten badly all year up until that point. So they've had some key wins in there. They had a few in between as well. So, yeah, they've been really good the last 4 weeks. Scary opposition to come up against. And I unfortunately predicted that Collingwood were going to have a big win over Sandy. I might not have said on the podcast, but once I found out the team lineups and who was missing and everything like that, I thought, oh, shit, we're in for a long one. Hopefully we can win, and we didn't and got slaughtered. So Collingwood, to their credit, the last 4 weeks have been very scary for every side they come up against, and I wouldn't want to face Collingwood in the next few weeks, that's for sure. Now, Darebin, they've also won 4 in a row. They were 0-3 like the Pies. Albeit they've been some of the lower-ranked sides like Carlton and Casey and Geelong in 3 of those 4. But they also beat Collingwood. So you can only beat who's in front of you. But Darebin are a side that had struggled up until last year, where they were showing improvement. And it's great to see that they're getting the wins on the board now, 4 in a row. I'm sure they didn't want the bye to come now. But, you know, it is what it is. They've been terrific in the last 4 games. You can only beat who's in front of you, but slaughtering Carlton, that was a statement victory. Lulu Beattie against her old side, former AFLW player at Carlton, and played with the VFLW girls prior to being drafted to Carlton, and then also was with Darebin before that. So she knows them too well, and she was really good that game. Ange Goke is having a terrific season. Had one of the best individual games I've ever seen in VFLW footy history. Had 33 disposals, 17 clearances, a lot of contested possessions. I think it was 23. Just insane game. She's been a terrific leader. Lulu Beattie, Monique Di Matteo, Talia Tosi in the first few games of the year had a good impact early, and then fell out of the side for some reason. She was good. Lucy Burgess had a good game against the Bulldogs when I was there for that game. They've had some really consistent performances. Alyssa Misford has had a really good game, few games recently through their midfield. And a few of their defenders have done pretty well in the last few weeks in particular, especially throughout their victories. But a surprise pack at Darebin, I suppose. And Carlton and Casey and Geelong, very bad. They are at the moment. Western Bulldogs, well, see, they're a hard one to give a read on. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, this might sound very harsh considering they haven't lost every game, but I feel like they've been one of the most disappointing sides all year for a few reasons. I'm going to tell you why. The Bulldogs have played 7 games, like everyone else, and 6 of those 7 games, they flooded AFLW plays in the side. And the one game they didn't, they lost and choked a lead against Box Hill, ended up losing by 33 points. I think Box Hill kicked the last 8 goals of the game, and Bulldogs sort of go on the siren. So you could say the last 8, but it was 8 of the last 9. The last goal was from Renee Salters on the siren. So, but besides Renee's goal on the siren, they conceded 8 goals in a row, choked a 4-goal lead, essentially, or 5-goal lead, and it just was not good enough. And that was the only game they didn't have the AFLW players, and they got fully exposed for that. Maybe they're just not that good. They lost a lot of players throughout the recent off-season. They lost Courtney Ugle, Mia Clifford, Dom Carbone to Collingwood, who's had a great year at Collingwood, I forgot to say. They lost her as well. Talia Pulcino left. Jamie Henry left. And a few other players as well. I'm probably forgetting Sarah Skinner. That's another one who's gone to Tassie, who was a keeper in their midfield, the former Swan AFLW player. So they've had a lot of change. But then some of their best VFLW players like Tamsin Crook, Marley McLeod have been in and out of the side this year. Well, Marley has through the AFLW availability. And to be honest, if I was players in that position that are getting dropped because of the AFLW players playing there, I'd be very pissed off about that. And quite frankly, they're 3 and 4, which kind of shows you the mentality. They're trying to stock their team of AFLW players, and they're still losing sometimes. So, to be honest, it's cheating your way into a final series. It's allowed to happen, but it shouldn't be allowed to happen. You don't see other sides chucking in 15 players, or not 15, but, 8, 10 players in and still lose. They beat a lot of sides. The sides they have beaten, essentially they only won them games because they're having all the AFLW players in there. So, I mean, I want to see them have no AFLW players in for the rest of the season, and then we'll see the true Bulldogs. So they had a big change in the off-season with all those players I just mentioned are gone, and they were all key parts to their side and why they made the grand final in the first place. They're all gone. And then you're playing AFLW players 6 of the 7 games this year. So, and you're playing the best Bulldogs players, essentially, their top draft picks from the last few years. So Elaine Grigg, Cleo Butterfin, Brooke Barwick played some games, I think, as well. And then some of their traded recruits like Louise Stevenson, Jazz Smith's played in there recently as well. Sarah Powsey, who was their top draft pick from this year, also played as well. Emma McDonald's played 3 games this year. So, it's great to give those younger players, the draftees, some game time and everything like that, and players that are on the fringe. Jess Fitzgerald played some games recently as well. So, they've had, besides like Ellie Blackburn, Annalee McKee's been playing there as well. Heidi Woodley's played in there as well. They've basically played everyone but Ellie Blackburn, and the ones that are injured, that have played through the AFLW, that are on AFLW list for the Bulldogs, that played in the VFLW side. So it's also hard to grade them properly because, to be honest, I think they've been pretty average considering they've had a lot of talent of AFLW players playing and they're still losing. If I was a Bulldogs VFLW listed player and I haven't been getting picked because of this, I'd be considering my choices and go, I should leave. That's what I would be saying. Like, I came here to get opportunity and we're getting shafted because they're playing AFLW players most of the time and in large quantities as well. Not saying they can't do that. The rules shouldn't be there for them to be allowed to do that. And if you're a VFW listed player like Marley McLeod, who was there through the whole season last year and was bloody good and has been in and out through this influx of AFLW players and others as well, she's just one that comes to mind, I'd be very pissed off and I'd probably look elsewhere and go where you're going to get valued and picked, because you should be picked, not because, there's XYZs coming in, they're all AFLW players, so see you later. That's just not fair. I don't think players would have gone there had they known this would have happened. Because Box Hill did it last year, and they had a lot of players leave going into this year. And now Box Hill have played their players, and look what they're doing. They're being bloody fantastic. They stopped playing all the Hawthorn players. I don't think Hawthorn actually played any AFLW players in their VFLW until, like the first round or two, but that's it. And there was only like maybe 5 at best, not like 15 like the Bulldogs did some weeks. So it's a hard one to grade. I haven't think they've been that good at all. Yes, they won 3. Yes, they're in the middle part of the table, but they've had AFLW players in. And so wouldn't that mean that they should be on top? But they're not. So there you are. Tamsin Crook, though, has been a great key defender for them. So of the VFLW players that actually have played, which isn't many of them, unfortunately, but Tamsin Crook has been really good. Marlene McLeod has been good when she's played. Now, Brooke Ward, who played her first game, former Greater and Western Victoria Rebels defender, forward, mid, played all over the place, Brooke Ward, had 7 tackles on debut in her last game, which was her first game in VFLW footy, so went under Brooke. Paula Povic moved across from Box Hill. Now, I don't know how that's worked. She was on Box Hill's list 2 weeks ago, or 2 games ago, and then played for Western Bulldogs the week after being an emergency for Box Hill the week before. So I don't know how that's worked, but it's great for Paula that she's got an opportunity now at Box Hill, from Box Hill to the Bulldogs. Played really well. I had like 4 tackles as a backup ruck, which is really good. So well done to Paula and Brooke for getting some opportunity. That's how it should be. Players that aren't on AFLW lists getting opportunity. Now, do that for the rest of the season and don't play 15 AFLW players at once. It's not fair for the opposition you're playing either. So Carlton, they've won 2 games. They almost beat Sandy. They've won against Geelong, and I believe off the top of my head, the other one was Casey. Good wins there. Almost beat Sandy, but the other 4 games have been terrible. Absolutely terrible. Some players that have done really well for them: Octavia D. Donato, Amy Trinidad, Nadia von Bertouch. She's been really good in the back line. Former Saint, former AFLW player. If you didn't know that, now you know. She's been really good in their back line, and she's held her own really well in that back line. A lot of their midfielders have accumulated the ball as well. It's not just Amy Trinidad and Octavia. It's every other player that's been pushing through the midfield. So they've been accumulating a lot of the ball. Hannah Scott's been really good for Carlton as well. So they've had individual players that have been really good, but they need the whole team to get around and do well. Evie Lee had her career best game ever. 2 goals and like 14 touches for a small forward last game against Casey, I think it was. Whoever they played last game, she was terrific. 2 goals and 14 touches. Really, really good for Evie Lee. But yeah, that's Carlton. All right. So, Casey. 0-7, like Geelong 0-7. Both have big problems. Not because they haven't won a game. They're recruiting. Like, you've got to stop going for local players. You've got to get players. Take the model of Box Hill. Get the best undrafted players from the Talent League. So Stacia and Isla and Amy and Talia, all the names I mentioned earlier, and there's way more. That Emma Stilv, that weren't drafted, that should have been, and play some of the other competitions like the VFLW, like Tash Enwistle, and Sienna Jezewski, who was at East Freo right now. Players like that were undrafted and should have been. That all the players that played in the state academy games this year that weren't drafted, and last year that weren't drafted. All those players, you should be wanting to get them on board. That's how you build your team. Getting the ex-AFLW players in as well that have experience, like Nat Exon, who's at Box Hill. Perfect type of player to bring into the club. A leader, an experienced player, a solid player that will be really good for that level. Has the experience on her side as well. She's a good leader as well when she was at Saints, Nat Exon. So players like that, you need to bring some players in. And Casey have just seemed to get no one in, really, that's been at that level. Alan Morris has been a good player for them this year. 3-14, one game. Delaney Madgen, the former Demon in the AFLW, she's played a part all right sometimes in most games. But, besides that, they haven't really done any recruiting, and that's on them. And the results are shown. You don't recruit, you don't pick up good players, you don't get good results. Same goes for Geelong. They're probably even worse. They've got the wrong mentality, Geelong. You do not pick local all the time. You don't pick players out of the local leagues. You don't just pick someone out of the undraftable crop that, probably weren't getting drafted. Stop going for local. I mean, I know some Geelong supporters, and they scratch their head as well, going, you've got to pick up players. Now, Mel Staunton, who's their captain, was probably the only player outside of the local pickups they picked up. Brooke Bailey, I think, came from the Swans Sydney League as well, so probably only 2 players they got. The rest are effectively drafted out of the Geelong Falcons or local Geelong players. Like, that's not how you build your side. Do what I just mentioned. Do what Box Hill's done. Take the Box Hill model. Stacia Stevenson, Isla Baldwin, Emma Stilv, Mia Zielinski, Matilda Van Berkel, Ellie McClendon. Get players from other VFLW clubs as well. Get some ex-AFLW players in the club. Actually, you got Jemima Woods, and that was a good one. And she's been really solid for Geelong, former Tiger. Good player, Jemima Woods. So there's 3 you got. Mel Staunton, Jemima Woods, and I forgot already, but there was 3. So that was fine. But that's not going to cut the mustard. That's not going to do the job. The saying, cut the mustard. It's just not going to cut it. Those 3 are good. Mel Staunton said some surfing things. So she's been in and out of the side through a competition she's doing and done very well at the surfing, might I add. But they're going in. So you need to recruit more and more players. Need more players to step up in the leadership while she's gone. That's why they're winless. And that's why they won't win a game all year. Whoever wins out of casing Geelong, the loser of that game will not win a game all year. I'm telling you that right now. I'm assuming they play each other. So if they don't play each other, they both will probably go winless. And I don't see where they're getting a win from. The only time Casey almost won was against Sandy when they had Georgia Campbell, Megan Fitzsimon, Georgia Gall, and some Melbourne AFLW players. Geelong, the only time they looked like they were going to beat anyone was Carlton. And even then, they were probably no hope. They were down by 20 at halftime. They hanged around 2 goals at the start of the last quarter. But even then, the way it was going, they weren't winning that. So there's huge concerns for both those 2 clubs. And I could have told you this from a mile away, this was going to happen, that they were going to finish at the bottom. They were probably not going to win a game. If they did, there wouldn't be many. And they'd be way away from the top. So that's the harsh reality. And they can't fix it now, really. But they need to fix the recruiting next year. I know that Geelong got a new coach into the side. So it's not blaming the coach, but they need to do a lot better in everything that they've done. So that's why both of them are on the ladder, because they're both going pretty bad at the moment. But hopefully, for their sake, they can regain some good form and show what they've shown in glimpses the whole way through. So, yeah, that's that. So let's now review the round 8 game, shall we? Let's go through them right here, right now. Let's get the graphic back up. But let me know what you think down below. Was I harsh on the Bulldogs and Casey and Geelong? I don't think so. I mean, can't sugarcoat things. I mean, I'm sure they're not happy with how they've gone, in particular Casey and Geelong. So, and Bulldogs, well, they've had AFLW players playing. So they're a VFLW team, essentially an AFLW team playing in the VFLW, which isn't fair. And they haven't even made the top 6. So that should probably tell you where they're at. And what benefit do you really get out of it, honestly, from the VFLW side point of view? Yeah, you make finals potentially not the right way. Then you play a final series with VFLW listed players. You lose all those major VFLW listed players in the off season, and you haven't had that chemistry to gel all year because you've had 90% of your side be AFLW players, and you go into a final series. Oh shit, we got no AFLW. What the hell? I haven't even played with half these players. You know, like the chemistry is not going to be there as it would for every other club. And that's on them. That's their fault. So there you go. All right, let's preview the round 8 game, shall we? Speaking of the Bulldogs, Winton Oval, Saturday, 11:05 a.m. at Winton Oval, the Bulldogs and Port Melbourne. I'll be tipping Port Melbourne in this one in a close affair by 8 points. Saturday, 11:05 a.m. again, Casey Fields, Casey and Williamstown. These stupid clashes with time, seriously. Williamstown are going to win by 45 points. Saturday, 11:35 a.m. at the AIA Centre, which is Collingwood's training ground. The Pies and the Bombers. This is going to be probably the game of the round, this one. I'm going to be tipping Collingwood in this one by 10 points. 11:35, Box Hill City Oval. It's Box Hill hosting Darebin. I think Box Hill can win this easily by 26 points, but this is a true test for Darebin, and if they can show it to Hawthorn, could be a wild card for the final series. Absolutely. They beat who they needed to beat, but if they can beat Box Hill, watch out. They may make the top 6. I was going to say the top 8. They make the top 6. They'll be in the top 8 at the end of the year, you would think, though. But Box Hill by 26. North Melbourne and Geelong at Avalon Airport Oval. Not at Arden Street, at Avalon Airport Oval in Werribee. They've got that agreement with Werribee. They've got the name, I think, Werribee in it now as well. North Melbourne, Tasmanian Kangaroos or something like that for the VFLW side. So they have like the Werribee grounds they play at, and Guernsey stuff as well. Of the alignment they have with used to have with the VFL and North Melbourne side, merging with Werribee at one point before North were their own team. 2:45 Saturday, North and Geelong. North Melbourne winning by 60 points. This may be the biggest margin all season. I think North will give them an absolute reality check and show Geelong where they're truly at. Might sound harsh, but it's the truth. And the final game, which is the only game on Sunday, should be more games spread out. Competition, please fix it. 11:05 a.m. at Trevor Barker Beach Oval. It is Sandy hosting Carlton. 11:05 a.m. I'll be tipping Sandringham in this one by 6 points. It was close last time. A lot of players are now out from that time. Carlton have got a few wins, I guess, but yeah, we'll have to wait and see what happens there. All right, my final thoughts are simply this. If you know any VFLW players or AFLW players or any other state league players and you would like to see them on the podcast in a goal kicking challenge and or interview, please do send me a message or try and get something sorted. If you want to be on my SCOOPS VFLW medal show, the inaugural show, after round 14, that week of after round 14, or even, it'll be that week or the week after. So please send me a message on Instagram, AFL Info Live, and I would love to have you on. Or if you want to be on for a goal kicking challenge or an interview, even better. Pause the video now if you want to remember that name and save it. So go check out my recent interviews with every player I've had on, every player and coaches, managers, etc. that I've had on. Most recent one with the coach of the Port Melbourne VFLW Football Club, Thomas Cheetos. Thank you all very much. Until the next episode, have a good one. And the most important thing of all to remember is, come on, Sandy, get the win and acknowledge me, the one. And it's great to have VFLW footy back this week. And it should be on every single week. Let's go.